the mob roots of early NBA ownership. Before the NBA had stars, it had gangsters in charge. The league's earliest years weren't just about basketball, they were soaked in organized crime. Several original team owners had direct or indirect mob connections, using franchises to launder money and dodge federal heat. The most infamous case? Ned Irish of the Knicks and his dealings with bookmakers. Some owners had deeper ties than the league dared admit. Gambling, manipulation, and silent threats shaped front offices long before ESPN existed. The NBA cleaned house by the 1960s, but the roots were dirty and the silence was bought. The 1951 point-shaving scandal that rocked college stars. It wasn't an NBA scandal, but it almost destroyed the league. In 1951, a massive point-shaving ring was uncovered. College stars, some already drafted, were exposed for fixing games. The biggest name, CCNY's Ed Warner, who never touched the NBA hardwood again. Others like Sherman White, a potential league superstar, got lifetime bans. The scandal stained basketball's credibility, dragging the NBA's early reputation into chaos. The league responded with panic, lifetime bans, media suppression, and behind-the-scenes blackballing. It was the moment the NBA realized its image could shatter overnight, and that silence was often more valuable than justice. The black quota, the NBA's quiet racist hiring rule. The league had a limit, but never admitted it out loud. In the 1960s, a pattern emerged. No team had more than 4 black players. Coaches, GMs, and insiders whispered about a quota, a silent rule to avoid racial imbalance and keep white fans comfortable. It wasn't written. It didn't need to be. Players like Earl Lloyd and Bill Russell endured racism from teammates, fans, and even front offices. Russell once said he played for Boston, but never felt welcomed there. The league eventually outgrew the quota, but it never apologized, because it never admitted it existed. How Connie Hawkins got silently banned without trial. He was never convicted, but they buried him anyway. Connie Hawkins was a playground legend. In 1961, during a college point-shaving probe, his name came up, not for fixing games, but just for knowing someone involved. That was enough. He was expelled from Iowa, undrafted by the NBA, and effectively blacklisted without trial, hearing, or defense. For years, he dominated in lesser leagues. He sued the NBA in 1966 and won. But by then, his prime was gone. The league settled for $1.3 million and let him back in. But the damage was permanent, a career stolen by assumption. The league's silent war against the ABA. They didn't just want to beat the ABA, they wanted to erase it. The ABA was flashy, fast, and full of talent. The NBA called it unprofessional. Behind the scenes, they pressured sponsors, TV networks, and arenas to block deals. Players who jumped leagues were quietly blacklisted from all-star honors and media love. Even after the merger in 1976, only 4 ABA teams survived. Dozens of players were cut overnight. Records were discarded. Championships ignored. The NBA absorbed what it wanted and buried what it didn't. The ABA didn't just lose, it was intentionally erased from the official story. Wilt Chamberlain's media suppression and league tensions. He broke records, but the league never let him own the spotlight. Wilt scored 100 points in a game. He averaged 50 for a season. But unlike Jordan or Bird, he was rarely the league's poster boy. Why? Behind the dominance was tension. Wilt was outspoken, critical of the league, and impossible to control. He refused to play the media's game, and in return, he was painted as selfish, stat-hungry, and aloof. Broadcasters gave MVPs to less dominant stars. His accolades were often downplayed. The NBA celebrated his numbers but muted his voice. Wilt won battles on the court, but lost the war off it. Bill Russell's championship silence in a racist Boston. He brought the city 11 titles, but they never gave him peace. Bill Russell is the greatest winner in NBA history. But off the court, Boston treated him like an outsider. His house was vandalized. He was called slurs in his own arena. Even after leading the Celtics to a dynasty, the city refused to embrace him. He once said, "I played for the Celtics, not Boston." The league celebrated him in public, but ignored his private battles. He skipped his jersey retirement ceremony. When he won, fans cheered. But when he spoke up, they turned silent. Or worse, violent. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's FBI watch list and political blackballing. He changed his name, and the government started watching. Lou Alcindor became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1971. That same year, his name went on an FBI watch list. His conversion to Islam, refusal to stand for the anthem, and open criticism of America's racial hypocrisy drew surveillance and suspicion. Media branded him cold, unlikable, and difficult. Endorsements vanished. The league rarely made him the face of anything, despite his dominance. Behind the scenes, he faced threats, investigations, and silence from the league he carried. Decades later, Kareem is praised. But during his prime, he was punished for thinking and speaking. The cocaine era, NBA's biggest secret. They were high on the court, and no one stopped it. By the late 1970s, NBA locker rooms were flooded with cocaine. Estimates said 75% of players were using. Stars partied all night, then played hungover or worse. Deaths started stacking up. Donald Rogers, Terry Furlow. But the league said nothing. David Stern eventually cracked down, but only after sponsors threatened to walk. Players were fined, banned, or pushed out quietly. The media barely touched it. For years, the NBA hid a drug crisis behind slam dunks and TV deals. The highlights played. The funerals didn't. Len Bias. The death that destroyed. NBA Trust. He never played a game, but his death rewrote league history. Len Bias was the perfect prospect. Strong, explosive, ready-made for the Celtics. 2 days after being drafted second overall in 1986, he died from a cocaine overdose. The NBA went into shock. Bias wasn't just a player, he was a symbol. His death killed the league's innocence and forced front offices to confront the drug problem they'd ignored for years. New testing policies came fast. Media spun the tragedy into morality tales. But behind the headlines was panic, the kind that only comes when a billion-dollar empire cracks. Frozen envelope. Did the NBA rig the lottery for Ewing? One corner was bent, and everything changed forever. In 1985, the NBA held its first draft lottery. The prize, Patrick Ewing. The winner, the struggling New York Knicks. But footage shows one envelope possibly bent or frozen before being picked. Conspiracies erupted. Was the league desperate to revive its biggest market? Did they manipulate fate? David Stern always denied it, but whispers never stopped. The envelope twist became myth, then warning. If the league could rig the future, what else was it hiding? The Knicks got Ewing. The NBA got doubt, and it never left. Magic Johnson's HIV and the league's hidden panic. They let him back, but only after locking the fear behind closed doors. When Magic Johnson announced he had HIV in 1991, it rocked the NBA. Publicly, players supported him. Privately, many were terrified. Karl Malone didn't want to guard him. Others refused to play. The league tried to show unity, but meetings behind the scenes told a darker story. Fear, isolation, and debate over banning him. Doctors said he wasn't a threat. Teammates weren't convinced. When he briefly returned, it wasn't out of confidence. It was PR damage control. The league smiled for cameras, but panic ran just under the surface. Jordan's gambling and the mysterious retirement. 1 year after a gambling probe, he walked away at his peak. In 1993, Michael Jordan shocked the world by retiring. He said it was grief from his father's murder, but some saw another reason: gambling. Jordan's habits were no secret. Atlantic City trips, huge debts, shady friends. The NBA had opened an investigation. Then suddenly, he vanished. No suspension, no press fallout, just retirement. A year later, the case quietly disappeared too. Conspiracy or coincidence? The league gained more with Jordan silent than exposed. His image was gold, and the machine never risks its crown jewel.